It was a night Washington, D.C. glittered brighter than the stars above it. The annual White House Gala, a spectacle of elegance and power, brought together the nation's most influential figures of politicians, business magnates, celebrities, and diplomats. The chandeliers sparkled like frozen fireworks, violins whispered through the grand ballroom, and champagne flowed as if to drown out the whispers of political tension that always lingered beneath the surface. Among the sea of tuxedos and gowns stood Agent Clara Wells, Secret Service, assigned to discreet surveillance duty for the night. She wasn't one for glamour. Her sharp eyes missed nothing, and her mind was trained to find patterns where others saw perfection. The gala was meant to be peaceful, but Clara's instincts told her otherwise. Something about tonight felt off. At precisely 8:47 p.m., President Jonathan Keene raised his glass for a toast. His smile was calm, his voice steady, but the strain behind his eyes betrayed exhaustion. To his right stood Senator Richard Halden, his closest ally, and to his left, Eleanor Vos, a powerful media mogul whose network could build or break reputations. The cameras flashed, the crowd cheered, and for a fleeting moment, the nation seemed united. Then, at 9:05 p.m., a scream tore through the air. The music stopped. All eyes turned toward the marble staircase. There, lying motionless in her sapphire gown, was Eleanor Vos. A thin stream of crimson staining the white marble beneath her. Her diamond necklace glinted in the light, as though mocking the tragedy. The crowd froze in horror. Someone gasped, "She's been shot." Clara's instincts kicked in, locked on the hull. She ordered, already pushing through the stunned guests. Agents rushed to seal exits, while others moved the president to safety. Clara knelt beside Eleanor's body. The wound was small, precisely a single shot, close range, not a sniper. Whoever did it was in this room. She scanned the crowd. 1,000 eyes, 1,000 lies. Within minutes, the gala was transformed from a celebration to a crime scene. Secret Service, FBI, and forensic teams flooded the White House. Guests were confined to the ballroom. Angry murmurs, panicked whispers, and the clinking of nervous glasses filled the silence left by the violins. President Keene was safe in a secure room, furious but composed. "Find whoever did this," he told Clara, "before the press turns this into chaos." Clara nodded. She began her interviews, starting with those closest to Eleanor Vos. Senator Halden was pale, shaken. "We were discussing a new bill just minutes before it happened," he said. "She excused herself to take a call. That's the last I saw her." Clara tilted her head. "Did you see who she spoke to on the phone?" Halden hesitated. "Number." But she could have broken bar tense, like she'd just been threatened. Next was Charles Vos, Eleanor's estranged husband, a tall man with cold eyes and a whiskey glass he hadn't let go of since the chaos began. "You think I killed her?" he said bitterly. "She ruined me, took half my fortune in the divorce. But killing her in the White House, that's madness." "Madness often hides behind confidence," Clara said quietly. He smirked. "You know, Agent." But something about his tone didn't sit right up. It was too calm, too controlled. Hours passed. Forensics found no gun. The cameras showed nothing of one blind spot near the east hallway, temporarily offline due to a malfunction. Convenient. At 11:12 p.m., Clara found something odd. A smudge of gun oil on a nearby curtain, hidden behind a decorative column. The angle suggested the shooter had stood there, waiting. She ran her hand over the floor, feeling for residue. The marble was cold, but there was a faint scorch mark, a silenced pistol's kiss. Then, something unexpected happened. An aide approached her, trembling. "Agent Wells, there's a problem with the president's statement drafts." "What problem?" "They've been rewritten as someone accessed the encrypted file 30 minutes before the murder." Clara's pulse quickened. "Who?" "Senator Halden's aide, ma'am. The logs show his ID." She frowned. "Halden's aide?" "Yes, but to broken bar that aide was already escorted out earlier for fainting. He couldn't have done it, unless someone used his ID to plant evidence. Clara went to confront Holden. He was in the study, pacing, phone in hand. When he saw her, he stiffened. "Any news?" "You tell me," she said. "Why did your aide access the president's encrypted files?" His eyes widened. "What?" "That's impossibly." "Don't," she interrupted. "You knew Eleanor had information that could destroy you. She was about to go public with your offshore accounts. I checked her messages." Alden's jaw tightened. "You have no proof." "I have enough to keep you here," she said, hand on her holster. Suddenly, a voice echoed behind her. Agent Wells stepped away from him. It was Director Samuel Hayes, head of the Secret Service. His expression was unreadable. "Sir, with respect, Holden is my suspect," she said. "I'm aware," Hayes replied evenly, "but you're making a mistake. We've located a firearm in the president's antechamber, with Charles Voss's fingerprints." Clara blinked. "That's too convenient. Or maybe you're too deep in it to see clearly," Hayes said quietly. "You're dismissed from the case." Clara felt a surge of frustration. "Sir, this doesn't add up." "Hey, now, Agent." Her badge was confiscated. She was escorted to her quarters inside the White House. But Clara Wells was not one to obey when truth was at stake. At 1 a.m., she broke protocol and slipped into the security office. Using a backdoor code only senior agents knew, she accessed the camera feeds. She rewound footage from before the malfunction. For a moment, static. Then a flicker, a shadow moving near the east hallway. Not Eleanor. Not Holden. Someone taller, broader. She enhanced the image. The face came into focus and her breath caught. It was Director Samuel Hayes. He was holding something metallic, a silenced pistol. Her heart pounded. Why would Hayes, her superior, frame someone for murder? Unless a broken bar. Unless Eleanor had discovered something much bigger. Clara dug deeper. Hacking into the communications archive, she found an encrypted email from Eleanor to a journalist. "Never sent. I have proof that the president's security chief is funding covert operations overseas unauthorized and off the books. If I vanish, he's the reason." That was motive enough. Clara armed herself and headed for the East Corridor. She knew Hayes would come back to retrieve evidence, to erase his trail. She was right. He was there, in the dim light, burning documents in the fireplace. "End of the line, Director," Clara said, gun drawn. Hayes didn't even flinch. "You're smarter than I thought. You killed her to protect yourself." He turned, smiling faintly. "To protect the country." She was going to expose operations that keep this nation safe. "People like her don't understand the cost of power." "Power doesn't give you the right to murder," Clara said coldly. He sighed. "You really think anyone will believe you over me? I've served 5 presidents. You're just a field agent." "Then maybe the truth will speak louder." She stopped and tapped her earpiece. "The line's been live for 5 minutes. Everything you said just went to the command room." His eyes widened. "You." Before he could finish, agents stormed in, weapons raised. Hayes reached for his gun, but Clara fired first, one precise shot to the shoulder. He dropped, cursing. The chaos ended as swiftly as it began. Hayes was arrested. Evidence was secured. The media was told a sanitized version. Security breach successfully neutralized. No threat to the president, but Claire knew that the greatest threats to power often come from within. The next morning, President Keane called her to the Oval Office. The dawn light filtered through the windows, painting the room gold. "You saved us from a scandal that could have torn this country apart," he said quietly. "I'm promoting you, Agent Wells, and I owe you my thanks." She nodded. "Just doing my job, sir." As she left the room, the sounds of morning birds mingled with the distant hum of the city waking up. The gala hall was spotless again, and no trace of blood. No echo of the scream that had shattered the night. But in Clara's mind, the memory lingered. She looked back once at the grand corridor, polished and perfect once more, the place where truth had nearly died in the shadow of power, and she whispered to herself, "In the White House, Even light can cast the darkest shadows. Then she walked away alone, uncelebrated, but victorious. Because justice, she knew, didn't need applause, only courage.